In college, my professors were constantly telling me to find my voice and figure out what my unique sound was as a composer. Maybe you hear this a lot too. You have to find your voice. But they never told me how to find it. It wasn't until years later that I figured that out. In 2007 in LA, I saw composer Philip Glass give a Q&A after a screening of the latest film he had scored, Notes on a Scandal. If you aren't familiar with Glass, he's one of the pioneers of minimalism. His music generally sounds like this. And this. There's a bit of a joke that Philip Glass's music all sounds the same. But even so, it was still a bit shocking when someone at the Q&A had the nerve to actually ask him directly, "Don't you think all your music sounds the same?" His answer completely changed my perspective on developing as an artist and led me to finding my own voice as a composer. Like I said in the beginning, back at Berklee, our teachers in the film scoring department were constantly telling us, you have to find your unique voice. They'd say that if someone wanted to hire John Williams, they'd hire John Williams. If they needed Hans Zimmer, they'd hire Hans Zimmer. So the only way to have any success and to have any scrap of hope of people wanting to listen to your music was for it to be completely unique and unlike what anyone else was doing. The result of this is that everyone was really stressed out about finding their voice, judging themselves if what they were writing sounded like something they'd already heard, judging others for sounding like such and such composer as if that was some horrible sin. I had one well-meaning instructor who listened to a bunch of my work, noticed that I'd used the leap of a major ninth in several melodies. Maybe that could be part of your style, is what he told me, and as an impressionable young student, I believed him. I started intentionally using the ninth in my work, thinking that I could artificially create a voice if I just had the right combination of tools and tricks. Early in my career, I started having a lot of success with tension and thriller music. I had a lot of library placements with this kind of brooding crime drama style. I won an award for a feature thriller I scored, so I thought, I'll add that to the list of things that make up my voice. One night, I was at a filmmaker networking event, and I was having a conversation with two writers. They asked what kind of music I wrote, and I thought, aha, here's my chance to be specific and focused, because that's what the market wants. So I told them, I mostly do thrillers and dark tension music. That's too bad, they said. We're looking for a composer, but it's for a comedy. Imagine trying to backtrack into, I can write comedy too, without looking like a dumbass. So when those professors kept harping on us to find your voice, find your unique sound, I really do believe they had the best of intentions, but they were wrong. Imagine you're at a family event and your 5-year-old nephew comes over and starts talking to you. Do you think you're gonna say, "Oh, Jimmy, sweetie, I've heard all those words before. You sound like your dad. You're talking about the same things your brother talks about. When are you gonna find your own voice? Don't talk to me again until you sound like a completely unique individual." Or even if Jimmy is 10 years old or 20 years old, is that ever appropriate? How many years of speaking, listening, conversing, reading all day long, every single day, do you think it takes for Jimmy to even start expressing his own ideas in his own unique way? Probably a lot more words than however much music you've written after just a few years of music school. Back to Philip Glass. It was like 16 years ago. I can't remember exactly what he said, but when someone in the audience asked him if he thought all of his music sounded the same, it was clear from his answer that he did not. Every single thing he wrote was an expression of what he wanted the music to sound like. Wouldn't it make sense that the same man would tend to make the same decisions and express similar ideas in a certain way? And even when those things might have sounded the same to us, the reason that he is one of the pioneers of minimalism, not just any random guy repeating arpeggios, is that he was fully focused on and devoted to those small little differences. That's what was fascinating to him in his work, and that's what he wanted to express. When I was in the audience, I felt like that question, "Don't you think all your music sounds the same?" was an insult. I was like, wow, imagine having the nerve to say that to his face. But Glass didn't take it that way. In a way, it was more like, that question doesn't make any sense. It's confusing. Of course, every piece is different in some way. I want to point out this isn't really about Philip Glass or minimalism or anything to do with his music specifically. What I took away from his answer was the "I write what I want" attitude. That really could have come from any composer. Regardless, that Q&A was a life-changing moment for me. All of a sudden, this weight of find your voice that I'd been carrying around since college vanished. I get that it might sound a little too zen, but I realized that the only way to find my voice was to stop looking for it, to stop artificially inserting major ninths into my melodies and just write what I want to write. Sometimes that means the way I say something sounds like the way that John Bryan or John Powell might have said it. But so what? I've seriously received comments before from people that are like, "Oh, you used that chord? That's so cliche. Everybody uses that chord." It's like I'm standing at the counter of an ice cream shop and I order mint chocolate chip, and the guy behind me taps on my shoulder and says, "Oh, you loser, you can't order that. You've already had that before. We've all had that flavor before." Yeah, sometimes trying new flavors is fun. Most of the time, we just want to enjoy some ice cream. Sometimes a sus4 chord sounds good. So what? Write the music that you want to write. If that means imitating Mozart, then imitate Mozart. That's your way of expressing something that speaks to you and has meaning for you. Whenever someone criticizes you for lacking originality or sounding like some other composer, have a little compassion for them, because it means that they're still struggling to find their own voice. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.